All right. Hello, everybody. It is Daniela here from Matchpoint. I am so excited to have David, Cecilia, and Cameron with me. We are just days away from Expo, and all of these three lovely people are going to be at Expo next week. So we thought we'd, get them together, talk a little bit about why we're excited for Expo next week, what we can look forward to, and maybe share some networking tips and tricks. So David, why don't you start us off with a little introduction, then we'll Cecilia and then Cameron, and then we'll go right into our fun questions that I have for you today.
Well, I hate going first because my mother always taught me ladies always go first. But since I'm the minority in this group, what the heck? Hi, ladies, and thank you for joining us today. My name is David Dubois. Currently I'm the director of strategy and development for Matchpoint, but I have the pleasure of having been on the IE staff for 11 years as their CEO and very thrilled that Marcia Flanagan, who worked with me at both MPI and IE, uh, won the love and the hearts and the confidence of the board of directors of IE because she is brilliant. And the first woman CEO of IE in their 95 plus year experience. So it is my pleasure to join you today. And Cecilia, how about yourself?
Thanks, David. Cecilia Lopez. I am the Senior Director of Marketing at Taffy Event Strategies. Been in this industry since, gosh, for a while now, my whole career, and just absolutely love getting together with folks like you guys to discuss all things events, and of course, in this case, Expo.
And I'm Cameron Curtis. I'm the president and chief innovator of C2 Association Strategies. We're a full service association management company. I was in the meetings industry for a very long time before I transitioned into being a CEO of several healthcare associations. And then I started my company 2.5 years ago. And I am super excited to be at Expo representing one of our clients, the LGBT Meeting Professionals Association.
Awesome. That's all really exciting. And thank you guys for the intro. So we are just days away from Expo. Like I said, you guys must be really excited. Cecilia's been there. Cameron's, it's your first. So why don't you start it off and tell us why you're excited to attend Expo and what caused you to finally sign up and go this year?
Yeah, so I've known about Expo for a long time. I wasn't in my career as a meeting professional. I didn't do a lot of big trade shows, so it didn't really make sense for me to go to Expo. And then I happened to run an association that won, it was like a fastest 50 fast tracker. I think it was like 2017 or something. And so that's when I really started knowing about Expo. But at that point, I was an association CEO and spending a lot of my time with ASAE. And so I was excited that when we started working with the LGBT Meeting Professionals Association, that we could partner with them. We're going to have a booth. I'm excited to see it in person. I know Marcia really, really well. She and I serve on the EIC Leadership Council together. And so it'll be nice to see. I think it's a different group of people than attend some of the other industry meetings. And so I'm looking forward to making new contacts, building new relationships, and also continuing to further relationships with people like David.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always exciting to like head to a new event where like you don't necessarily know people or you do, but like you're seeing it for the first time and it's really exciting. So I'm sure you can't wait to get there next week.
Well, in LA
So,
in December is also a plus because it's cold as
oh,
you see right now.
of course.
So,
Yes, the best weather. Cecilia, how about you?
For me, I mean, I just feel like it's the place to go to source new solutions and get a real pulse on the industry, what's going on, what new technologies are out there, meeting with people and hearing about their successes and challenges, really, just to get, take that information back and apply it to your own business, I think is just so important to do that periodically, if not, every year.
Yeah, for sure. And David, I know you've been to Expo many times, but what are you excited about for this year?
I'm a little biased. I did retire from IE a year ago, October, and I was able to attend the Expo in December. representing a different company, the exhibitor group, a very fine group of folks, publication and a trade show. But since IE Expo was the show of shows, as Cecilia and Cameron said, it is where the ladies and gentlemen who are making the multi-trillion dollar exhibition, global exhibition industry so successful. So I'm looking forward to interact, maybe share a little bit of my expertise, although I'm not speaking because I'm going to be an attendee and that's going to be so different and fun.
Okay, Cecilia, why don't you tell me, think back, what's the best connection that you've ever made at Expo and how has it impacted your career or your personal growth?
That's a great question. So this wasn't at Expo, but at an event similar, I did end up meeting somebody that I ended up working for, and it wasn't like a recruitment type situation, but someone that I really hit it off with. You know, I felt like I had a lot to learn from. And I'm going to steal a phrase from a good friend of mine, but she talks a lot about having like a personal board of directors, um, which I think is just so important to someone who, you know, is coming up in their career. I would even say it's important later on in your career when you're figuring out, you know, what the next step is. But just someone that I kind of always kept in touch with. And when an opportunity came up to work with them, I jumped.
Oh, that's awesome. See, like from events like this, like you don't even sometimes you don't have expectations, but then you ended up meeting someone that helped you like grow in your career. That's awesome. Cameron, how about you? I know it's your first Expo, but if you've been to an event like similar nature, who is the best connection that you've made and how has that impacted you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like Cecilia said, I think every job I've ever gotten, I've been in this industry for 25 plus years. Every job I've ever gotten and every client I've gotten since I started my business has all been the result of relationships that I've built throughout my career. Starting out within the hospitality industry and then moving into the association executive space. And I think that we sometimes underestimate the power of those relationships. And I've known David for a long time. And so I don't know that there's specifically, one relationship. I think it's just the power of all the relationships and the importance of being at those meetings, attending Expo, being fully engaged while you're there, meeting new people, getting outside your comfort zone, because you never know where that relationship could lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that like aspect of sometimes you don't even have expectations, but you end up meeting someone who could like change everything for you, like always keeping those doors open. And it's really a good point.
Sometimes I think it's like, it's the end of the day, you're exhausted and you're walking back to your hotel or you're walking through the hall and you kind of run into somebody and you start up a conversation. And sometimes those relationships last for decades. So um,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I think it'd be an interesting case study, actually.
The hallway conversations for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I also like I recently did like some research on what we call weak ties, where like it's not necessarily like your first degree connections, but like people that you might have met randomly at an event that like you haven't spoken to in years, but like that person ends up making an impact some way, and you
Yep,
you really never know who you're gonna meet.
that's exactly true.
Yeah. David, how about you?
Well, if I may, and this is I don't want to embarrass Cecilia or Cameron, but I'm going to put your hats on uh, my head because the two of you work for companies that have clients, correct? And I know, Cecilia, you have a significantly big show called Coverings, right?
That's right.
That's pretty significant. And Cameron, you're rebuilding from what you've done as a direct customer to now looking for customers. And I've got a sole proprietorship of one. My boss is very difficult to work for. I've known him way too long. And but at the end of the day, we're gonna be standing there, ladies, talking to Tom Jones or Mary Smith, whoever it is, and we're so shy. We're gonna say, "Hey, hi, I'm Cameron. I'm Cecilia. I'm David. Who are you?" And this is a perfect example. When I first started at IE, which is now 12 years ago as the CEO, uh, at that time there were about 35 countries represented in the membership. Today, I think it's well over 50, and Marcia's going to make it even bigger and stronger in her good work. But I was standing next to a gentleman that turned out to end up being somebody that helped us start a global chapter in the Middle East. And his name is Bilal, and I never knew him before. And now we're BFFs, and I was just chatting with him on WhatsApp the other day because he wants me to try to help him sell one of his shows to American companies that are happening in the whole Middle East region. So you never know who you're going to talk to, right? So I'll stop there because I could go on and on, but obviously, uh, you know, Cecilia, you're a marketing executive, but we're all in sales, right? Every single day. Cameron, would you like another client or two? You may run into somebody that says, "Hey, Cecilia, I've heard about your company. Tell me what you do. You have this big, big, big show and other clients called coverings, and Cameron, you've got 4 or 5 really good clients. What do you do? I need some help with X, Y, or Z." So you never know what's going to happen.
That is, yep, so true.
There needs to be like some sort of like slogan for like, I don't know, it's like very like Disney-esque, like you never know who you're gonna run into. It's magic.
It really is. It really is.
The unexpected.
Yeah, like stuff like that with like sparkles. Like, I don't know, it needs like
Well, and
I like
sometimes you have like you meet people at these events where you only see them once a year, right? You may not keep in touch, but it's something that you look forward to every single year going to Expo. So, like I said, I'm super excited. And now I know Cecilia, so when I see her, we will be able to say hello and hopefully build our relationship.
There you go. Awesome. Okay, so what advice can you guys give to first-time attendees of Expo? So I guess we can give Cameron some advice, but also Cameron, if you want to share any like advice that you have from being at previous big events like this.
Yeah. Again, I would just say be open to meeting new people, say hello, just have those random conversations. If you're sitting next to somebody, you're sitting at a table at lunch with people that you maybe don't know, or if you're with a friend, and sit at a table with people you don't know, like strike up a conversation. Again, is this your first Expo, or have you been coming for a long time? Or, who are you, like, who do you work with? What are your meetings like? What do you do? I think all of those questions, open the conversation. And I would say, even if you're tired and it's the end of the day, be willing to just say hello, or you look nice today. How about that? Like, just give somebody a compliment. I think that also goes a long way to sort of breaking the ice and starting a conversation. It's all about the first conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. My go-to icebreaker is like always giving someone a compliment because A, like makes their day and B, like they want to talk to you other after that. So,
Yep, exactly.
and like why not put a smile on someone's face? So, yeah.
Right.
Cecilia, how about you?
Kind of building off of what Cameron said, I think that's a phenomenal point. Really, just even saying hello is so important. I can be a little shy sometimes, and I recognize that about myself, especially at big events where, there's so many people and there's so many relationships that go back for a long time. It can be a little bit uncomfortable. And the advice that I've given in recent years to people who are kind of, starting to break into the industry and wanting to build these relationships is embrace the discomfort. Like, it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first, but you never know, again, who you're going to meet, what you might bond over. Maybe you guys, both have dogs, and and that's how the relationship forms. But then you come to find, this is somebody that has a solution that could really make an impact on my business. Be open to those conversations. In addition to that, I would also say some of what helps, I think, with overcoming any discomfort is doing your homework. So many of these events, and I know Expo in particular, have apps that really do help you do your homework in advance, figure out who it is you want to meet with, any booths that you know that you want to stop by, any sessions that you want to attend where you might find other people that might have, advice to share, or even just people that you can like commiserate with.
I would add too, I think Cecilia, you made a good point. For people who are more introverted and they might be sitting alone at a table, if you're an extrovert, like I am, on it, clearly, I think I've shown that, walk up to them and say, hey, is anybody sitting here? Can I join you? Right. And again, that is a good way to open, like create that space for a conversation and potentially a long-term relationship and maybe even a friendship.
Yeah, that's a great point. I also, Cecilia, I really want to touch on something that you said, and it's like talking about things outside of business that you might bond on. So, like whether you have pets at home or some like, things in common. Because I think sometimes we forget, like, we're so focused on like our pitch or whatever it might be that we like forget the human side of networking and building relationships. But at Match Point, something we talk about a lot is like you have to establish that trust to then have like a business relationship with somebody. But in order to establish that trust, like you have to have a personal relationship first. So I think, even just like coming up to someone and talking about something like personal, like an interest or like, hey, where was your last vacation? Or like things of that nature is like a really good way to like start a relationship with someone that you want to work with.
And I would add to that that the personal connection is what will lead to the business
Yeah,
connection. I think if you start in the space of it's a personal connection that you're making without thinking about the business, it could likely lead into a business relationship, either directly or indirectly at some point.
absolutely. Yeah. David, how about you? What wise words do you have for us?
The downside about going third is that I got to think about something new and creative. But what I'd like to do is emphasize what Cecilia and Cameron said. Preparation is key. For example, yesterday for about 3 hours, and I sent Daniela the list yesterday. I went through the Cecilia the Great app that IE Expo has, and I looked at it, the attendees, and obviously there's no emails on there because of privacy and protection. But I went through and came up with 83 ladies and gentlemen that I either knew and or want to talk to about what I'm doing because a lot of people are going, I thought you retired. Yeah, well, I retired twice. Just kidding.
Twice.
Right,
I
Cameron and
to
I already
retire.
talked, we joked about that last time we had dinner together. So at the end of the day, it's all about preparation. Cecilia and Cameron, what education sessions do you want to go to? And what do you personally want to get out of the 2.5, 3.5 days you're going to be in Los Angeles, other than nicer weather than where you all live on the East Coast? So I'll stop there. Preparation is key, and I've done some of my homework. I'm going to send messages out to folks. You know, Cameron and Cecilia, what suppliers do you need and want to see because you want to learn more about ABC technologies, or you're looking for additional speakers for some of your education sessions? And there's a plethora and I'll stop there because obviously I've been drinking the IE Kool-Aid for years and look forward to being an attendee.
I think I'm in a unique position because I have C2 association strategies. I have clients and we plan their conferences and trade shows. And so I'm on the client side as well when I'm out at these meetings. But in this case, I'm also representing our client, the LGBT meeting professionals. And so I'll be in a booth and not necessarily selling, but hoping to find new members and have people know that there's a safe space and a group that people can join a community where we're inclusive. So it's kind of, I'm in an interesting position when I go to some of these events.
Yeah, there's like a lot of different hats that you could wear
Yeah,
at these events.
which one do you have on, right? At what time?
You have to like figure out your strategy for each hat you're wearing.
Right, right.
But
Who
like
am I
David said,
today?
preparation is key. So yeah. I know we touched on it a little bit, but let's dig a little deeper. So how do you guys ensure that the connections that you make at events like this translate into meaningful and long-term relationships?
I think for me as a marketer, I am always thinking about meeting people where they're at. Any communication that we send out, right, on behalf of our clients or whoever it may be, we're thinking about how to reach them. Um, and I think that applies to interpersonal relationships too. I don't think it stops with, swapping business cards. Maybe that's old school or adding
Scanning
people.
badges.
People want to scan you. I'm like, oh, I have a business card. um, or, adding someone on LinkedIn, but maybe taking an extra second to just be like, like, what are you on? How do you like to stay in touch with people? What's the best way to reach you? If you live in the same town, maybe, planning that post Expo coffee, or if it's someone that's like, I text all day, every day, and I'm just really not email focused, get their number. Like maybe it doesn't hurt to be in touch that way, but I'm a big proponent of meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, that is such a like game changer because I feel like sometimes you need to get a hold of someone or you want to talk to someone and you're a person on email but they're not and so you're just like sending emails into the void. That's like a really great point and you have to like ask that when you're meeting the person because if you never get their number then like how are you going to reach them? So like that's a good tip to remember. Definitely.
It demonstrates that you're, invested in building that relationship. I think it's so easy to be passive and, like I said, kind of collect the cards and then, forget about them. But if you're invested in the relationship, I think, it means a lot to the person who you're speaking to know that they care about how they want to be reached.
Absolutely. Cameron, how about you?
I agree. I was thinking as you were talking, and I have like regular business cards, and then I have like the QR code, and then you have your like LinkedIn code. And I used to come back with like the stack of business cards, and then I just started using the QR code. And then you come back and you're like, okay, I have all of these contacts that are now in my contacts, and I'm in their contacts, but I didn't necessarily note where I met them. So like figuring out how to go back and make sure that you can figure out, okay, I met them at IAE Expo in 2024, so that you can then continue that conversation. Because sometimes you meet so many people and you collect all of that information, even the stack of business cards that you collect at some of those, and then you sit them on your desk because you're like, okay, I'm going to follow up, and then you don't have time because we're all so busy. But I agree, meeting them, like finding out how people want to be communicated with. I prefer texting, Cecilia, because it's just faster. Don't call me. But yeah, I think meeting people where they're at.
Love it. David, thoughts?
I'll share a real live example, if I may. Certainly, Cameron and I were at the SEER Predict conference in September in DC, and then I think I ran into you for about 20 seconds at IMAX, right?
Yep.
Oh, hi, Cameron. Hi, David. And we
Yeah.
go the other way, and that just happens. But I'll share something that yeah, how you gather your cards, whether it's scanning a QR code or whether I'm going to be handing out all of my cards. It's got a QR code on there, and obviously I'm uh, more talking to folks about Matchpoint than I am about my own company. But at the end of the day, I was talking to a supplier friend of mine that actually used to work for me, and he works for a major CVB in our industry. And he goes, Dubois, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm not going to retire. I got a little bit of juice left in this car, and I told him about Matchpoint, and within a week, and I sent him a note. Hey, David, nice seeing you. And he wrote me back. He said, would you mind giving a presentation to at our sales meeting for 10 minutes? Because we need to talk to our clients about what you're doing. And David was genuine and said, hey, we need to know some new technologies that when I'm talking to Cecilia or Cameron or Mark or George at the different organizations, for-profit companies like X, Y, or Z, that, hey, have you heard about this new technology? So I'll stop there just to say that you never know. And this is somebody who worked for me at what was the Sheraton, Washington, D.C., Cameron, 30 years ago, that is at a very high level now. And he just said, Dubois, what are you doing? I was not trying to sell them because we're not selling to suppliers, we're selling to show organizers. And anyways, that's a perfect example of you just never know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess just like being open to that, like what we said before, just like you never know and like being open to meeting new people and those long-term relationships can help you in ways that you didn't expect. So that's great.
Well, and people change jobs too, right? So it may be that they're not going to work with you right now, but again, building that friendship and really nurturing that relationship in the future. It may be somewhere where if you are doing in a sales position, that they might need your services and they'll remember. So again, I think building the personal relationship first, like Cecilia said, like, do you have a dog or where do you live? Like that kind of thing, I think is the most important piece.
in the case
Absolutely.
that I just made, I said, David, what's your wife Leslie doing now? And I had lost track. I hadn't seen David and haven't seen Leslie back in my Sheraton days. And she's in our industry too. And we had and how about the boys? No, they're 29 years old already. Are they really? So, you have those kind of conversations that just reconnect you. And I had seen the guy in 3 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's good also that like, it's kind of like those friendships that like you don't have to talk to them every single day. And like I feel like in business connections, it's like even more apart. Like you might not speak to someone for 3 years, but when you do, if you've built that initial like rapport in the beginning, like the next time you talk to that person could be like really fun and even beneficial. David, this is kind of a segue into like what you were talking about before, but how do you guys see technology shaping the way that we network at events? I mean, we talked a little bit about scanning badges and things of that nature, and obviously Expo's a really great app, but maybe let's talk a little bit more. What have you guys been seeing or reading about with event tech that's helping in the networking space?
So I think so one of the things that I've seen at some of the recent meetings is where you can go in and you can kind of say like things that you like I like dogs, hiking. I don't like hiking. I'm not an outdoorsy person. The beach, right? If you have like a cocktail like bourbon, I like to drink bourbon. So things like that where you can go in and kind of say things that you're really interested in from this big long list. And then what they do is you can connect with people based on what you say you're interested in. Um, it was like an online program, and I think it wasn't as easy to use as you would think. But I think something like that, where again, as Cecilia and I have said, like that personal relationship, finding people based on things that like, I love to go to the beach in the summer, again, the dogs, whatever, you're connecting with somebody because you can say, oh my gosh, I see that you like dogs too, and I have two dogs, and whatever, what kind of dog do you have? Again, I think it's whatever you can find that helps you build that personal relationship where it connects you in ways that is not just we're in this industry at this same trade show or
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Like it is a way that you can connect with people that you already have something in common with, because it creates a much easier path forward for building that relationship. It's easier for somebody to say to you, oh my gosh, tell me about your dogs, versus just like, hi, can I sit next to you? Right? That awkward moment. So
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
organic, right? Like we love organic everything, but we love organic conversations. We love organic relationships. And I love the idea of starting there, because at the end of the day, if you're working with these people day after day, or if you're looking for a partner that is not, and I use that word intentionally, not just a vendor, but a true partner, you're looking for someone that you want to talk to, that when you're both in the thick of it, you want to look forward to that call and not like dread it and look for every way to escape it. So I love that, Cameron. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for like, people who are more introverted or just starting out with going to these meetings and shows, like it's an immediate icebreaker that they don't even need to think that deeply about. Like it's just so natural for us to talk about things that we like in our daily lives that it just instantly helps you build that connection and you don't have to like be stressed or worried about like what's going to happen with that conversation.
End of the day, there's a lot of incredibly good event um, apps. And what we're looking to do at Matchpoint is to see where there's collaborations with the excellent technology companies that are out there.
Okay, so before we sign off, Cameron, Cecilia, and David, let everybody watching know how they can find you at Expo next week.
So I'm happy to start. So I will be in booth 2723, representing the LGBT Meeting Professionals Association, and I'll also be wandering around. So if you see me, say hi. I'm super friendly and open to building new relationships and meeting new people.
I'll find you, Cameron.
I'll find you too, Cecilia. I'll be easier to find because I'll be in a booth.
I know, I love that. I will be wandering around largely, but again, I mean, bringing it full circle, find me on the app, let's connect. I'm also doing a session on Thursday morning, a marketing roundtable. So anybody, interested in marketing who wants to, again, source new solutions, make new connections, definitely plan to find me there.
And David?
Thank you for the reminders, Cecilia. I'm on the app too. I had to find a picture that didn't show that I was 83 years old with a lot of gray hair. But I'll be there in person. I look forward to seeing Cameron and Cecilia and probably about 2,500 to 3,000 of our closest friends and people that are going to be your friends when you leave on Thursday or whenever you leave Los Angeles.
Thank you guys so much and good luck at Expo. Have fun.
Thank
Thanks.
you.